let's see, let's bring everything else back. Turn on the eyeball, turn off the eyeball. And this thing down here, I can go in and crease that point right there. If I hit Shift D, I can crease that down there if I want to. But I can also just grab it and just kind of pull using my move brush. Just kind of pull these things into place like so. And then if we want to add a little bit more space where her dress is, we can just kind of pull back and pull down. Kind of up to you how you want that feel to be and how layered you want it to look. So we've got her pretty much blocked out. Now we just need to do a little bit of detail work. So if I alt tap her dress and I look at the reference, I can go in here and I can see if I have a poly loop that goes all the way around her dress. It gets a little bit more complicated back here. So basically what I would do is like take a edge loop and pop that off as its own subtool and then maybe add an edge in here to kind of pull up. So let's give that a shot. This also gets a little bit complicated. Not really, it's just something to think about. So with my dress selected, what I'm going to do is let's duplicate it off, because what I end up doing is taking an edge ring around here and I want to keep this dress nice and safe, so I'm going to duplicate it off and just work on this duplicate. So I'm going to go to solo mode, turn on polyframe, and all I really care about, I'm going to hit Shift D to go out of that dynamic preview, and all I really care about is this top part right here. So I'm going to hold down Control Shift, tap this top one, and then do a delete hidden, which for you is geometry modify topology delete hidden, because this is really all I care about. So I want to grab this edge ring right along here. So if I hover over an edge with my Z modeler brush and do a poly loop, polygroup poly loop, it'll go ahead and take that poly loop and just loop it, group it for me. And I'll do the same thing for this one. And that gave me pretty much the exact border I wanted. It didn't give me my top border, but we can always duplicate off the dress again and do that. So I'm only caring about this bottom border here. So I'm going to do Control Shift, hold down Alt, and that'll just get rid of all this extraneous stuff I don't really care about here. And I can just kind of hold down Control Shift and Alt. And now I'll just do another geometry modify topology delete hidden. So up here what I'm going to do is hover over an edge. I'm going to do collapse edge. I'm just going to collapse it. Now you can do it, collapse it outwards or inwards. This one I'm going to collapse inwards. Same thing for the back. I don't really need all of this stuff up here, so I'm going to collapse this one. That'll give me that point here. And then I can hold down Control Shift and I can just delete all this. Hold down Alt. And there, I can just get rid of that, do a delete hidden. And now I've got orange and blue. I don't need the blue at all, so I'm going to Control Shift click the orange and then do a delete hidden, go out of solo mode, and now I've got that entire border isolated. Now at this point, I could Q mesh in and Q mesh out just to give it a little bit of thickness. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go into my Z modeler brush. We've got polygroup all. Actually, you know what? Before we Q mesh, let's go ahead and move this stuff around a little bit. So where it kind of bows out a little bit, I'm just going to move that in just to make it a little bit more consistent with the edge. And then where it gets kind of thin in, I'm going to pull it out just a tad. So I'm just kind of making this line a little bit more consistent. Now on a straight edge, it would be a little bit easier. But on this one, I'm just going to have to manually go in and just kind of pull these things around just to make them nice and consistent. Now this is going to smooth weird, I can already tell. So I'm going to hover over this point and do bridge 2 points, and I'm just going to cut those 2 points there, like so. There we go. So again, I'm just looking for a nice consistent border around here. And we can clean this up a little bit more as well as we go and give it some thickness here. And if we want to, we can go ahead and hover over this edge, do a quick insert single edge loop, or we can do a couple if you want to. And we still have Z intensity on for that, so just turn that back down to 0 if it's bubbling out. Sorry, I forgot to turn that off. There we go, nice consistent border. So now what I'm going to do is hover over a face, do Q mesh polygroup all. I'm going to pull out just a tad, give it a nice border here. And just to play it safe, I'm going to go into solo mode here, and I'm going to take this inside group, start Q meshing it in, and then hold down Shift to just pull those in and just give it a nice thick border. Just gives me a little bit more breathing room. And now I can go back in here with my move brush and make sure that everything's nice and consistent and clean. And by default, I don't know if it did it or not, let's double check. It may have creased our polygroup for us. So we're going to solo mode, going to polyframe. You're going to see these little dotted edges along here. It creased the inside polygroup, but not the outside. And I'll use our move brush here. So instead of well, I mean, you could go up here and hold just crease and edge loop complete, or you can just go into your crease menu here and turn on crease PG. Oh, that was on crease PG, sorry. Crease PG. And now if you hit D, that'll give you your dynamic preview. And of course, we want to keep these edges up here nice and sharp. So I'm going to hit Shift D and then hover over these edges here and just do another crease edge for here, and then here, and then anything on the back. Yeah. We'll do one here, and then we'll do one here. Now, if this isn't enough geometry for you, say you want to kind of smooth this transition out, what you can do is do an insert single edge loop here, and now we can kind of pull these out and gives us a little bit more room. So you can add geometry however you want here, and let's hit D. There we go. So that'll give us a dynamic preview here. And oops, let's hit Shift D, turn on polyframe, go into solo mode, and we forgot to hover over this edge with our Z modeler brush, and we'll do another crease edge and just crease that edge. Hit D, and now we've got a nice border here, like so. Now let's figure out how we want to do these little embellishments. Oh, looks like I missed another one here. Okay, go into solo mode here, and we'll grab this crease edge. Okay, yay! And of course we have X symmetry on, so it's doing it on both sides. And I am going to smooth these transitions out a little bit, but you can also go in your H-polish brush and see if you can H-polish down any of the pinching issues. You can put in edge loops and stuff, but I'm trying to keep it simple. I don't want too much geometry to kind of worry about. So let's see how we can do these little back embellishments here for this part here. So we need to pull these up to a point and pull these up to a point here. So that's going to be going to the polyframe mode, hitting Shift D, and I guess the easiest way to do it is just to add some geometry. Yeah, it looks like it. So we need this to kind of bow out, so this is going to kind of come out a little bit here, kind of a soft transition down, and then it's going to kind of flame out here. So let's go ahead and just do a quick insert single edge loop. And we're not going to touch this inside, but we are going to grab this inside here. If I go into solo mode, you're going to see if I want to grab both of these points, you can actually go into point mode in your Z modeler brush and go to here to move, and you can try doing move by brush radius, and that just moves this one out. My brush radius isn't too big. Infinite depth, you can try moving that out, and it grabs both of them, so I think that's what we're going to use. So we're going to grab this one and kind of move it out and up here, and let's go ahead and insert some more polygroups here. So insert single edge loop and insert single edge loop here, and we'll just go, and we'll just actually, you know what, let's undo all that. We need some more resolution to kind of bring this out. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take this, hover over this face, and we'll just Q mesh a single poly, and we'll just grab this polygon. There we go. This will give us a little bit more to play with. And now we can hover over, in my Z modeler brush, hover over move infinite depth, and then just grab these points here. That'll give us a much nicer transition. There we go. So we got one little flame offset here, and of course you're going to go into your move brush and kind of make these match a little bit better. And then we'll go down here to the corner, and on this one, let's go ahead and we'll do an insert single edge loop on this one, insert single edge loop on this one, and now if I go into solo mode here, looks like I accidentally inserted a single edge loop. I'm going to hold down Alt and tap that one. I'm going to go in here with my Q mesh and pull this out, and it'll actually go ahead and bridge those two faces for me. And if I keep pulling, it'll continue to kind of pull out a single face. A couple different ways you could do that. You could bridge two faces, you could extrude out, but I think that'll work just fine. And now we've got kind of a corner in there. And now we can just kind of pull that up, or go into our Z modeler brush with the infinite depth on your points and just kind of pull that out to a little flame point here. And it didn't really grab it with the infinite depth, so maybe go in here with your move brush in solo mode and just kind of pull that out. Whatever is the easiest is to kind of get that thing up there. Now that is kind of messing up my poly groups here, so my middle group, my inside group, and my outside group. Let's go ahead and get that back really quickly. One easy way is to hold down Control Shift, go to your select lasso, Control Shift, click one of these middle lines, and just keep doing that all the way around. And eventually what that does, and you do have to be in lasso mode, because that's a feature of the lasso, is to be able to select edge rings. So we selected all of the inside one. Let's go to the bottom here, do the exact same thing. Got all of that one here in one swoop. So now what I'm going to do is do a quick auto groups. And for you, that'll be under polygroups, auto groups. And that's going to do is give me a polygroup for my inside and my outside, and then Control-Shift-Drag. And then I've got all these inside ones that are kind of a mixed polygroups. Just hit Control-W, and now those are all polygrouped. And we've also got some weird creasing going on when I had things creased and was using QMesh. For now, let's make this easy on ourselves. We're going to go up here to Crease. We're going to do Uncrease All. Then we're going to do Crease Polygroup. Now, instead of going through here and manually creasing like this edge and this edge, what I'm going to do is do a Crease Tolerance. Crank that down to like 47, hit Crease, and hit D. And that went through for us and looked at all of our harsh transitions and went ahead and creased all of those lines for us. So that saves us a little bit of time.